Hello, welcome, I'm Kathy. If you're a yoga lover and you've been struggling with sit bone pain or pain high up in your hamstring that just doesn't seem to be healing, or it's taking a really long time and you're frankly sick of it and just want to be able to do your yoga practice again, then this class is for you. If you want me to help you directly, one-on-one, to take you through my rehab process for this injury, please click the link in the description below and book a free 15-minute call to see if I can help. You asked and I listened. Some of you have commented on my previous video on yoga for sit bone pain that the music was too distracting. So this video is a remake without the music. I hope you find it helpful and enjoy. Namaste, yogis, welcome. In this class, I'm going to guide you through a sequence that's specifically designed for hamstring origin tendinopathy and bursitis. That is pain in the hamstring tendon right up near its insertion at the sitting bone and the underlying bursa. It's really important in the early stages of this injury to avoid compressing and overly stretching the hamstring tendon. So this class not only avoids poses that compress or overly stretch the tendon and underlying bursa, but also includes poses and exercises that work to strengthen and heal these tissues. For this practice, I recommend a bolster, a blanket, and a yoga block. To begin, come to lay down on your back in a supported bridge position. Land your feet hip distance apart and lay down on your back. As you press your feet down, start to lift your pelvis up and slide your block underneath your sacrum on the medium setting. Create a slight traction of the skin above your sacrum away from your head. And then rest your hands down beside you. And start to breathe right down into your belly. And soften down into your support. Likely, if you've been experiencing pain in your body, you may be carrying a high level of stress or stress hormones in your system. So let's set ourselves up for the optimal healing environment right from the beginning. And I really love this supported bridge position for this. When the heart is elevated higher than the head at this angle, the baroreceptors in the neck trigger a slowing down of your heart rate and an activation of the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system, which is the branch most conducive to healing and restoration in the body. Take a deep breath in through the nose, fill up. And a slight pause at the top. Open mouth, sigh out. Again, like this, in through the nose, breathe in. Pause. And let go. One more time, breathing in. Pause. Breathe out. Allow your breath to flow naturally and easily. And now start to press your feet down into the mat. Continue to press down through your feet until you start to feel the backs of your legs firing up. The hamstrings, maybe the glutes. Now bring your left heel a little closer towards your buttock and your right foot a little further away. Press the closer foot, the left foot, down into the support, down into the floor, and feel the activation in your hamstring and your glute on that side. And you're working here at about 50 to 70% of your max isometric contraction in your hamstring and glute, not your maximum. Now let's start to bias a little more that hamstring and hamstring tendon by energetically drawing the left heel back towards the block. Again, 50%, maybe 70% of your max, not your strongest contraction. Holding it there for a couple more breaths. And then release that. Step the left foot further away and bring the right foot closer in now, and do the same on the other side. Press the right foot down. Feel the glute and the hamstring on the right hand side. And now bias the hamstring a little more by energetically drawing your right heel back towards the block. Holding it for a couple more breaths. And then release that. And bring both of your feet now hip distance apart. And do the same on both. Now press both feet down into the floor. Activate the glutes and the hamstrings. And then create a little bit more activation through that hamstring, top of the hamstring and hamstring tendon by pulling the heels towards the block slightly. Feeling those areas toning and strengthening. Good. Now keep the downward pressure through the feet as you lift the pelvis slightly and remove the block out to the side. Lower your pelvis to the floor and now hug the knees in towards the chest and give the lower back a gentle stretch out. Okay, roll onto your front now and grab either a bolster or a blanket and place it underneath your tummy. Rest your forehead to the back of your hands. Scoop your belly in and then just lift your right leg up off the floor. And start to feel the top of the hamstring and focus your attention on toning through the top of your hamstring. Lower the foot down and then change to the other side. And just keep alternating a few times here, left and right. Last one on each side, hold. And the left, hold. And then release that down. Remove your blanket or bolster. Come to lay flat on your back once again. And then bring your hands in line with your hips, preparing for locust pose. Firm your thighs, lift your kneecaps. Scoop your lower belly in, lift your shoulder blades, and then lift your chest, head and feet. Come into locust pose, shalabhasana, slight chin tuck. Imagine your inner thighs slightly rolling up towards the sky. Last 2 breaths. And then lower down, rest your right cheek to the mat. Back to the middle. Second round, engage the legs first, belly in, shoulder blades lift, and then lift chest, head and feet up. Holding it here, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Last breath. And then exhale, left cheek down. Gentle wriggle of your hips, side to side. And then back to center and bring your hands in line with your chest. Spread out through your fingers. Prepare for cobra pose. Tops of your feet press down. Shoulders draw down the back. Elbows draw in towards the waist. As you inhale, rise into cobra. Feel the thumbs pulling in towards the midline and the fingers turning away from the midline. Last two. 1. And then lower slightly as you press yourself up into a tabletop position. If you prefer to pad up your knee here, pad up your knee with a blanket or even double the thickness of your mat to cushion the left knee. Maintain the curve of your low back, scoop your lower belly in and lift your pelvic floor. Extend your right leg back, lift the right leg and then bend the right knee 90 degrees. Lower and lift that right leg. Again, toning and strengthening the hamstring and in particular the top of the hamstring where the tendon inserts into that sitting bone. Let's do 3 more. And then down and rest, child's pose. Come back up, second side. Extend your left leg back. Bend the left knee, lower and lift. Keeping the belly scooped in, the chest lifted. Last 3. And down and rest once again. Okay, lift the chest and the head. Step your right foot forward. Again, option to pad up the left knee. Coming into Anjaneyasana, reach your arms up. Lift your pelvis slightly away from the floor so you're not sinking down into that front hip fully. Imagine that right heel pulling back towards the left knee. So there's that isometric contraction through the right hamstring. Press the right foot down as if you're driving it through the floor. Again, you're working at that 50 to 70% of your max, not your maximum contraction. Holding that engagement through the right hamstring and the right glute. 2 more breaths, breathing in. Breathing out, dragging the right heel back towards the left knee. And then cactus the arms back and interlace your hands behind you. Stretch your fist back, open up the chest. And then release, hands to the inside of the foot. Come back into tabletop position. Slide your hands forward into puppy pose, spreading out through the fingers. The thumbs pull in towards each other. Elbow creases rotate forwards as you lower the chest and head down. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing into your side ribs, expanding. Breathing out and softening in. Come back up into tabletop and then step it back into plank. Scoop in through the belly. Lift your right heel up off the floor, your right foot up off the floor. And if that's a little too much, then drop the knee down and do it with the knee down. So you're in this 3-legged plank position, holding it there, rolling the right inner thigh up towards the sky. 1 more breath. Lower the foot down. Again, option to drop the right knee down this time as you pick the left foot up. Hold it in 3-legged plank. Push the floor away. Press back through the inner left heel. Lower it down. Option to drop both knees down this time as you move the chest forward. Low plank. Hover. And then all the way to the floor. Take your hands back in line with your hips. Inhale, rise, chest, head and feet lift. Exhale down. Scoot your arms out in front into sphinx pose. Forearms parallel. Chest lifted. Good. Now roll onto the outer left hip. As you reach back, try to catch your right foot. Pull the right heel towards the buttock as you roll your right hip towards the floor. And if that's too much on the low back, shoulder or the thigh, then just let that left elbow wing out to the side slightly to lower the chest. Last breath, and then gently release that and resting down on your forehead. And coming back up, second side, roll onto the outer right hip, reach back, catch your left ankle. Roll the left hip back towards the floor. Feel into the low back, the thigh and the shoulder, and if there's too much strain or compression, lower yourself by bringing that right elbow wide. Last breath. And then slowly down, release. Forehead to the back of the hands. And then slowly come back into sphinx pose. Spread out your fingers. Breathing in as you lift through your chest. And then breathe out. Lift the pelvis as you land your knees down. Come into a kneeling plank. Forearms and knees supporting you on the floor. Good. Stay here if this feels like a good amount, or come all the way onto the toes. Good. Option here to stay or to take it a step further and try to lift the foot up. So if you're on the knee, it looks like this, or if you're on the feet, it's here. Hold it for a breath and then lower it down. Second side. One breath. And then down. For the transition, option to drop the knees again to the floor, or right hand to the floor, left hand to the floor. High plank, breathe in. Knees down, puppy pose, breathe out. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out. One more time, breathe in. Breathe out. Good. Look forwards, come back up. Left foot to the outside of the left hand. Rise up into Anjaneyasana. Good. Just like you did on the other side now. Press your left foot down into the floor as if you're driving it through the floor. And then pull the left heel energetically back towards the right knee. 50%, maybe up to 70% of your maximum isometric engagement of your hamstring. Breathing in. Breathing out, the pelvis is lifted away from the floor slightly. You're not collapsing down fully into that front hip. One more breath. And then cactus the arms down. Interlace the hands behind the back. Press your fist back towards the back heel. Keep pressing the left foot down and then pulling it back towards that right knee. And then release down. Step the left foot back. And then once again, puppy pose, stretch the arms forward. Breathing in. Thigh bones vertical, breathing out. Spreading out through the fingers. Feel the thumbs pulling in towards each other as the elbow creases rotate forward. Last breath. And then look forwards to the hands. Step forward into plank. Good. Once again, option to drop the left knee down as you pick the right foot up. Three-legged plank. Hold it for a breath. Lower the right foot down. Now pick the left foot up. Hold it. Left foot down. Option for both knees down as you move your chest forward, lower through low plank. Hover all the way to the floor. Take the hands back. Inhale, rise, chest, head and feet lift. Exhale, down, release. Arms forward into sphinx pose again. Press your forearms down, lifting through the chest. Good. As you roll onto the outer left hip, this time reach back, catch your right foot, and then roll the right hip down. And this time, reach the left hand back, catch the left foot, and come into bow pose. Take it as far as feels reasonable and fair for your body as you press your ankles into your hands, lift your chest, start to lift the knees up and feel the muscles in your hamstrings and your glutes engaging. 3 more breaths. 2, 3. Gently release without slingshotting. Come all the way down. Rest your forehead to your hands. Wriggle your hips. And then come back into sphinx pose. Spread out your fingers. Lift your chest. Kneecaps lifting up off the floor as the thighs firm. Now let your knees come back to the floor as you lift your pelvis up into a forearm kneeling plank. Option to stay here or take it a step further and come all the way onto your feet. Lift the right foot up off the floor. Hold. Lower it down. Left foot up. Hold. Down. Good. For the transition, option to drop the knees down. Left hand first. Right hand second to the mat. Plank pose, inhale. Exhale, knees down, puppy pose, stretch forward. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Okay. So likely if you've had this injury for a little while, you've started to feel some tension building up in your hamstrings, and as we do not want to stretch the hamstring too much in this early stage of the injury, I'm going to show you a technique that you can release that tension without straining the tendon. So get your blanket and roll it up like a log. You can also use a foam roller for this, but a blanket works really well. Place the blanket behind you. Anywhere along your calves, towards the upper end of your calves. And then sit back on the blanket until you feel that tension release in the backs of the legs. Keep your hands on the floor initially, and if you feel like you want a little bit more intensity, then bring your hands up onto the legs and hold it there. Take a few breaths, maybe even interlace the hands back behind you. Last 2. Feel free to move the blanket at different levels along the legs, so maybe further down, get some nice support. Try that. It's also a nice way to release the calf muscles. We're just avoiding direct compression over that hamstring tendon right up at the sitting bone. So we're not going so high that the blanket's coming right up to that tendon. All right, then releasing the blanket off to the side. Come to sit with your feet in front, hands behind your legs. Lean back, puff out your chest, come into boat pose. Reach your arms forward, breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Last 2. Chest lifted, feet lifted. 1. And now transition into low boat pose. Let your lower back round down to the floor. You can keep the knees bent for a less intense version, or you can try and straighten out the legs for more intensity. Holding it here. Last 3. 4. 5. Exhale, hug the knees to the chest as you release your shoulders and head down. Gentle rock side to side. And just stretch your arms out to the side and gently float both of your knees off to the right, coming into supine twist. Turn your gaze towards the left. Breathe into your belly. Back through the middle, knees in towards the chest, perhaps bumping the hips a little to the side, and then pull the knees off to the left as you turn your gaze towards the right. Breathe to your belly and soften. And slowly make your way back onto your back. Squeeze the knees into the chest. And then release. Stretch your legs out, coming into Shavasana. Arms out, legs out. If you like to support your legs with a bolster or any other props, feel free to set yourself up for supreme comfort here. Closing down your eyes. Letting the bones in your body be heavy as the muscles and connective tissues start to release their grip. Start to gradually deepen your breath. Feel as the breath reanimates the body. Feeling your breath pressing into your belly, your ribs, and your chest. Perhaps that inspires a little bit of movement. Wriggle your toes and your fingers. Breathe in and stretch your arms overhead. And then roll onto your right side and rest on your right side for a moment. And slowly press yourself up into a comfortable seat. Your hands to your heart, thumbs to your sternum. Inhale, lift your sternum. Open mouth, exhale. Bowing the head, Namaste.